the channel, guys. If you're returning, thanks for the support. If you're new here, I hope you like what you see. We're just going to dive right into it like we always do. This is going to be another AK focused video. Today we are going to be focusing on some ammunition testing. Now if you're like me and you've been into AKs for quite a while, there's a pretty good chance that you probably dived into 5.45 by 39. Arguably one of my favorite calibers of all time, regardless of it being AK based or not. So on the subject of 5.45, I know a lot of you guys who know what that is are already saying like, oh, well, it's expensive to shoot, blah, 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 blah. You're not wrong. Again, if you're like me, you might have a pretty good stash of ammo. For me, I do have quite a bit of ammo. A lot of that is Russian surplus 7 and 6. If you're not familiar with what that is, it is what I just said. It's surplus ammunition. It is extremely corrosive. Arguably, probably one of the most aggressively corrosive types of ammunition I've ever shot in any caliber of any type of gun. But I don't usually shoot that. A lot of times, you go to competitions and stuff, they don't allow it because it is a steel core. Hit steel targets and they're known to ricochet, stuff like that. You go to indoor range or something like that, they're not going to let you shoot it because it can spark and it can cause a fire and an explosion. Whether you believe that part or not, it is true. It happened in the Kujir factory in Romania, where they make what you guys all know as Wassers. So anyway, we're going to dive into this again. So flashback a couple years ago or so, the Biden administration did their little, what we all loved, the little Russian ammunition ban. So you name it, 7.62 by 39, 5.45, even some cheap 223 basically went away. So the days of getting super cheap steel case of anything are pretty much gone. Steel case cost, in a lot of cases, almost the same as brass. But the one that hit the hardest was 5.45 by 39 because as of right now, there's only one company. Actually, I take that back. There's two that make brass case 5.45. One of those being Hornady in their Hornady Black line. It averages about 1 ball hair per round. So, it is loaded with a VMAX bullet, so that's nice if you want to hunt with it and stuff like that. But if you're just practicing like me or going to a competition, not very economically friendly. The other option, I believe, is Global Ordnance. Same thing. I want to say I keep seeing that for pretty close to 1 ball hair per round. The one that a lot of people were hoping was going to be kind of the savior of 5.45 is Tela Impex. You guys may remember it. Again, if you're into 5.45, you probably remember it when that came into the country, I think at the beginning of the year 2024. At the time, due to the Russian ammo ban and its height, it came into the country at about 1 ball hair a round. So not a lot of people bought it, but there were a few people that got sent some samples, and unfortunately it was found to also be corrosive. So if I'm paying $1 a round, I don't really want to shoot corrosive ammunition. But since then, I want to say it was like the first batch of that Tela ammunition they got corrosive primers. They claimed when the ammo went out that it was non-corrosive, and then it was like found out later that they kind of knew. I don't know why they chose to do it. For the most part, I've heard the 7.62 by 39 to not be corrosive. I've been told by some of my friends that yes, there have been some cases of 7.62 also be corrosive. I've talked to a lot of people that shoot Tela pretty much exclusively, mostly 7.62 by 39, don't have any problems. So, me being, again, a pretty dedicated 5.45 guy, you'll see pretty much the entire catalog of my 5.45 rifles in my collection today for the sake of this testing. We are going to test some new production Tela ammunition versus some other things, and we're going to see if the new production stuff is non-corrosive, because right now on average the Tela is coming in at around 55 centipedes, we'll say, per round shipped, which is really not bad. It is more expensive than 7.62 by 39 or 223. A lot of the regular 5.56, like true 5.56, is going to be about the same price. So it's really not that bad now. But I still hear people say like, oh, I don't want to shoot it because it's corrosive. So I'm going to, again, put my rifles at peril for the sake of your guys' entertainment and, again, for the sake of science. So I don't know if you guys were taught this in school or not, or if you were paying attention in school. But in scientific tests, you always want to have what they call a control, which is something that is already known to be a fact, and you're comparing that to the thing that you're trying to test to be either true or false. So, first gun I'm going to present, one of the crown jewels of my collection is my AKS-74U. This one is an Arsenal SLR 104 UR. This one, we are going to shoot Silver Bear ammunition. So Silver Bear is made by Barnaul in Russia. It's something that I have, again, a little bit of in my stash. So we know that this is not corrosive. So again, we're going to fire some rounds out of this. And especially, I don't really want to fire corrosive ammunition in my suppressor because I don't know how hard that is to clean. So yeah, we're going to do that one, and then let's move on to the next one. Okay, next gun that we will be reviewing in this test with the ammunition is going to be my IWI Galil Ace Gen 1. This one is basically a Hebrew crank, so same barrel length. We are 5.45. This magazine is empty right now because I'm going to load it on camera so you guys don't think there's any tomfoolery going around. This one will be fired with the new production Tela ammunition. Third rifle on the list is going to be my Saiga, dressed up in JMac still. This one is going to be another one of our controls, right? So this one is actually, I don't know if I can strip around here for you, and I don't know if you guys can see that. Get a little closer. This is 7 in 6. This is that extremely corrosive stuff, so we know that this stuff is horribly corrosive. This is the steel core. This stuff was made in... Sorry, camera is already shutting off, and it's around 9 o'clock in the morning. So, anyway, yeah, this ammunition in this rifle, I think, is 1988 production. So, yeah, it is... it's definitely going to be corrosive. This gun's going to be one of the easier ones to clean. But again, we're just going to do this for control. Fourth rifle up is another Saiga. This one is going to be yet another control. This is going to be control number 3. This one is loaded. I don't know if you guys can see that. So the dark, almost black looking sealant on the primer and bullet. This is also Tela Impex. This is some ammunition that was brought in at the very beginning. This stuff was actually given to me, again, by Gun Quality Enforcement. This stuff is definitely known to also be corrosive. So we've got 3 controls that we're going to be doing against the new manufacturer, Tela ammo. So we're going to really be able to see, A, if it's corrosive, B, how corrosive is it compared to old Tela and 7 and 6. So before we get into the ammunition testing part of it, we are also going to do, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but a lot of guys will put like a board and they'll put some nails on it and they'll put some of the spent cases on top of that, and they'll check them later. Some guys are putting the board in like a pan of water. I don't really see that to be necessary because it is horribly humid here. I don't think in the summer we've been getting below 50% humidity. So at the end of this test, I'm going to leave those cases on the nails on the board outside for several days. So yeah, we're going to see how that does. Also, I want to talk about what is it that actually makes ammunition corrosive. So it's all in the priming. It's something to do with the chemicals and stuff that they put in the primers. Whenever they are fired, they basically deposit, it turns into, I think it's either like sodium chloride or potassium chloride, one of the two. And essentially it turns into either a salt or an acid. Yeah, it's as bad as you think. Yeah, it just basically attracts water out of the air and just leads to just dying again. So yeah, it leads to some pretty horrible rusting and corrosion and stuff. In the past, when I've shot 7.6, when I had my very first AK-74, actually first AK I ever owned, there was one time I shot some 7.6 at the range and came home. As before I owned my own house and my own land. I forgot to clean it. Whenever I got home the very next day, that gun was so rusty I had to kickstart. If you guys don't know what that is, where you have to put the rifle on the ground and literally stomp the charging handle with your leg like you're kickstarting a motorcycle. So I'd kickstart the bolt to get it freed up to where I can even open the gun to clean it in the first place. So again, you know, this stuff is no joke. Corrosive ammunition, there is a silver lining to it. Like I mentioned, the 7.6 that I have was made in 1988. It's as old as one of my little brothers. So the storage life of corrosive ammunition is generally very good. So that is a pretty positive thing if you're wanting to just stash some ammo. But for those of us that aren't necessarily looking to build up a stockpile and they just want something to take out, shoot for cheap, take the competitions like we talked about before, we need another option. So right now, again, the Tela Impex current production is the most affordable. So without further ado, let's start getting into it. So I am going to add, before we start shooting, that all 4 rifles have been cleaned, and I did not put any lubricant on there. Why that's important with leaving the lubricant out is oil can create a barrier between the base metal and the air, so that could affect our results at the end with anything showing up on any corrosion in the rifles themselves. So yeah, all right, got the Silver Bear, and we've already got a round loaded up. So here we go. As you can see, this rifle shoots pretty flat, pretty soft, just as you would expect on a crink. Okay, so now we have the crink out of the way. I'm going to load up some ammo again on camera, and you guys are going to watch me shoot the Galil. Here is the 2 boxes. This is the one that's already loaded up. As you can see, you can kind of see a difference between the two. This one looks older because it is. And we're just going to get into this. So, one thing I did find to be a little odd, this being supposedly current production, is both cases of the old stuff and the new stuff, the cases are head stamped 24, as in like 2024. So as you can see with that, still have the super dark red, almost black sealant. So let's get this thing loaded up. So I'm not sure where my camera cut off. I did see that it shut down, but either way, we are loaded. And we can start getting some rounds. So we're gonna run this thing without a suppressor because, again, I don't know if this stuff is corrosive or not, and I don't really want to have to worry about cleaning my suppressor. You'll also notice I'm using, none of the magazines I'm really using are super good quality mags like Circle 10s, old Bakelights, anything like that, because any of these gases that come in on anything that is corrosive, it's really going to start rusting any of the steel parts, like including the springs, stuff like that, so I don't want any of that. So without further ado, let's go. I gotta say, this thing's running really well. I've got a K&S piston, it's all the way open, but I do have the large bore jet in here. It's doing really well. That CAC Industries A2 is perfect on this little gun. It's not obnoxiously loud like a brake would be. But my ejection is pretty good. All right, let's grab some cases, put it on the nails, go on to the next gun. Now for one of our controls again. We're going to be shooting the Saiga. This will be 7.6 again. I'm not going to shoot that many rounds because I'm actually going to shoot another video today where I'll be shooting some more of this 7.6. So I'm not just going to dump a lot of ammo for this video, but just rest assured we are probably going to shoot this entire magazine before everything's over. Again, you guys can see that red sealant. This is 7.6. I am not going to shoot steel targets, not in this video, because of the aforementioned possible ricochets and such like that. So let's fire a few rounds into the tires. Alright, so obviously again, this stuff works great for being as old as it is, and that comes back to the whole corrosive priming. It stores for a long time and stays good for a long time. You guys might see in another video where I have an unrivaled prototype brake on here. I went with the Krebs titanium because it should not corrode as bad as a steel brake. So this thing's going to have to be cleaned later. I just want to make it easier for me later. So that was 7.6 in the Saiga. You guys may have noticed, I mean, granted that thing has a pretty aggressive brake on it, but it just seemed a whole lot softer recoiling. 7.6 is only a 53 grain bullet because that steel core is much lighter than lead. So that and the Tela, from what I've heard, and I can already say from experience on the little Galil, it is loaded pretty hot. If I try and shoot like Silver Bear or something in that gun, unsuppressed, sometimes it won't cycle with the gas completely shut off. And what I mean by that, with the K&S piston, if the gas is shut off, that means it's not bleeding off any extra gas. So that thing was running great. So that is also a sure sign that stuff is pretty hot. And on to the fourth rifle. We have got the Tela old production. So this stuff, again, we already know for sure is corrosive. So let's go out there, fire some rounds. Tela, this is old production, so again, it is for sure gonna be corrosive. So got a round loaded in. This gun is adjusted, I believe, for the Tela Cartridge Works ammo we were shooting in the drop test videos, which has been decently hot. But let's see how much hotter it is, or not as hot it is, with the Tela. Ejection is maybe 10 feet, not too bad. Notice it was on target enough for me to easily hit my 8-inch gong from back here, so still holding up pretty good as far as zero. Didn't see a dramatic shift, maybe a little bit low, but we are also not at the distance that I zeroed to, so it makes sense to shoot a little low, but we are out. So that was a full 30 rounds of the original corrosive batch of Tela. So there we have it. We fired all 4 rifles. Again, 3 controls versus the 1 unknown. We've got our nail board here, as you can say. This one here is the old Tela batch. This is the new Tela batch, Silver Bear 7.6, and then we have another control where we'll just have a nail just out here in the air. You'll see some guys that will put these rounds like all the way down where the mouth of the case is against the board. I'm not going to do that. I want the most humidity and whatnot to get in there to really tell us, you know, how corrosive, if it is corrosive, and get a good comparison. So I'm going to leave this outside for the next few days. I'm going to deposit my rifles into my garage because I'm definitely not going to leave those outside. And we're going to check up on them here in a few days. I'm going to check on them here the next day and see if there's anything dramatic that is showing up. I'm going to go ahead and put that on film. So I may be cleaning, especially the Saiga that we ran 7.6 in. I'll probably be cleaning that one ahead of all the other ones. All right, so first we've got, obviously, the crank. This is the one that we knew we were shooting just Silver Bear ammunition. Take this RS Regulate mount off. Best side mount in the game, as far as what I've tested. And, you know, we're clear. Let's not win any Darwin Awards. So first things first, Recoil spring looks fine. Bolt, carrier, all that good stuff. Everything looks fine. Rust, we've got no rust in the receiver. And do the old AK, what was it, AK Operators Union, R, where he used to do the pistons, or the gas tubes. Yep, no rust. So, just as we suspected, you know, no surprise there. Not corrosive ammo, so no rust. So let's get this guy back in here, and we'll go on to the next test, or the next rifle. Next up, one of the controls, or I should say the second control. We're actually going to save the new production Tela ammo gun for the last. But anyway, again, let's not win any Darwin Awards. So this rifle was fired with 7.6, and surprisingly, we have no rust or corrosion on the spring. Let's take the carrier out. So you can see we've got a little bit of rust on the bolt face. We've got a little bit of rust here on the nose of the carrier. There's a little bit here on the piston head, and just to point out here, this piston stem is chrome plated, so it's pulling rust through that. So again, 7.6, no joke when it comes to this stuff. We've got a little bit of rust up here around the chamber. Honestly, I expected a little bit more than that, but let's also look at the gas tube. Oh yeah, I don't know if it's going to focus in here, but we got a little bit of rust in here. We've definitely got some rust up here around where the gas tube goes onto the gas block. So as I said before, no surprise. Yeah, 7.6, no joke when it comes to corrosion. I honestly expected a little bit more, but you know, no surprise. All right, rifle number 3 and control number 3. We've got my other Saiga. This one we fired with the old batch of Tela that we, again, knew for a fact was corrosive. I do see a little spot right there where basically there was bare metal. There's a little bit of rust there. Let me see. I'm not really seeing anything on the recoil spring assembly. Let's take the bolt carrier out. Look over the piston. I'm not seeing anything on the piston. There's a little bit of rust there in the bolt face, but not a ton. But let's take a look in here. Yep, we've got a little bit of corrosion up around the chamber. Let me see. There's a little bit of rust here up around the front trunnion. Some spots in here on the receiver. Can't get the, or I'm not going to take this whole thing apart just so I can get into the gas tube. But definitely corrosive. It's surprisingly, this Tela is, at the very least, it's on par with 7.6 as far as corrosion. It didn't pull as much through the piston, but I've got more rust in the receiver than I did on the 7.6 Saiga. So let's get this thing put back together. We'll go to the very last, the piece de resistance, if you will. Okay, moment of truth. New batch, Tela. So this magazine has reinforced feed lips, and I see no rust on there. And again, we're not going to win any Darwin Awards. These dust covers are pretty tight on these galils. We have no rust here on the dust cover. We have also no rust on the recoil spring assembly. Let's Let's take a look here. So we have absolutely no rust here on the bolt. There's a little bit of red here, but that's from the sealant on the primers. We've got no rust at all on the carrier assembly. Let's look around the chamber and in the receiver. Let's look underneath. Look in the gas tube. Since I got this wrap here on this thing, I'm not going to take that off, but there's no rust. Absolutely no rust. So that's the results that I honestly was hoping to see. Okay, so here we have our nail test. This is obviously our control. There's no rust on that. Let's look on the one 7 and 6. There's a little bit of rust right here, back here where I clipped the head off, that was right near where the primer was. No surprise. Now we've got Silver Bear. Not surprised, there's nothing. Old Tela. Yeah, we definitely have some corrosion. We have rust down here where the neck of the case was. We also have plenty of rust back here on the tip where I clipped that head off. Again, I think this old batch of Tela is, I mean, it's even rusty inside this case. This stuff is proving to be definitely just as, if not possibly more, corrosive than 7 and 6, which is really surprising to me. Now, the new Tela, there might be something down here, but it looks like it's outside of the neck of the case, so I don't know. I mean, almost most of these have something right down where the end of the neck of the case was, but yeah, looks good. So again, old school Tela, man, if you got that stuff, I would say go ahead and burn it up and just run the old water hose, or get you a gallon jug of like distilled water and just run that through your gun right after you shoot. Then when you get home or at the range, spray it down with some WD-40. WD-40, not a lubricant. The WD stands for water displacement. So that is going to keep you, after you run the water through the gun, from rust forming from you running water through it. So it's just going to get that out of there for you. So once you run the WD-40, then I would probably re-lubricate if needed your rifle with whatever you like to use. CLP, regular oil, grease, whatever. So yeah, surprising results. So I'm going to finish this off in the barn. That way my camera doesn't get too hot, because it's definitely going to be a hot day because it is the summer. But great results from the new batch of Tela ammo. I can probably say that in the future I'll probably be buying some of this ammo to shoot, just so I'm not, burning through my stash, and I will probably do so with confidence. I'm going to bring up that, again, AK Quality Enforcement, who sent me the bit of the old batch of Tela that we saw for sure, was corrosive, no surprise there. He shoots Tela 7.62 pretty much exclusively. Also, my buddy from Midwest Savage, he also shoots pretty much exclusively Tela for 7.62 when he goes to matches, you name it. He pretty much shoots nothing but that ammo. Both those guys report zero issues out of the 7.62, so there's no reason why, if they're using non-corrosive priming in the 7.62, they're not also using non-corrosive priming for 5.45. That said, when I started this whole video, there were a few reports a while back of some batches of 7.62 being corrosive, but this being about a year and a half later since the 5.45 came in, yeah, this stuff I would say is great. So at 55 centipedes a round shipped for 5.45, it's a pretty decent price. And so I think all of us that want to shoot our 5.45s more, finally we have something that we can hopefully rely on and get a pretty decent price and keep shooting these rifles that we love to shoot and have loved to shoot for quite a while. So Anyway, if you had anything that you would like to add, throw it down in the comments. If you like what you see, like, share, subscribe, because again, we're shooting more 5.45, and I'm putting my 5.45 rifles in peril for you guys, for the sake of science and for the sake of your entertainment. Thanks for stopping by. I hope to see you in the next video.